And it's 5:30, time to call the Ramsey County Commission meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item is approval of the minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Was there something on there about tabling the financials? Didn't we make that motion at the end of?
Well, the financial statement.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Do you recall that, Candy?
I'll look back at my chicken scratch. Might have to go back to the meeting. Yeah, all I have is table.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Do we need to amend that motion to correct the minutes?
Second. Daniel, you gotta look at these.
No, I just think
Okay.
that's an appropriate way to make the correction.
Okay.
That Bill did the original motion, right?
That did.
Ed did.
Yes.
Just as long as somebody's moving to amend it.
Yep.
All right. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
I
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions?
I would like to add one, and that is the extension portfolio that I have.
Put that under new business. Or would that be? I guess we don't have portfolios this time.
if we could amend the agenda to have the egg valuation discussion at the February meeting. I think that was the intention of that.
It's under unfinished.
I know.
Oh.
I didn't want Elizabeth to have to sit through 3 presentations and then have to ask her that we're going to discuss it in February.
Do we have a motion to approve the updated agenda?
So move. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. We have George Ellertson, Northland Security, and Scott Wagner, bond attorney.
Okay. We're going to do a little bit of creative. Okay, Scott, can you hear me? Okay. Okay. I'm gonna turn this up. There we go. Okay. Okay, take it away.
Hey, Scott. Hi, George.
Hello.
Yep. We can hear you.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Scott Wagner with Arson Stewart Wagner, law firm in Bismarck for a bond counsel law firm. And I understand you want to talk a little bit about financing options. I sent the PowerPoint that I'd done for the Association of Counties last fall. I don't know if you have that up or if you wanted to look through that or not.
We do have that up, Scott.
Okay, so would you like to touch on some of those items?
Yeah, if you have some that you'd like to, some slides that you'd like to run through, or some specific things that you think would be pertinent to our discussion tonight.
Sure. The third slide should be titled Debt Limit. And the point here, aware of this, I think, but political subdivisions, of course, have a constitutional debt limit. And the debt limit set by the Constitution is 5% of assessed valuation. And that's not taxable, but assessed, which is half of the full and true. And so not all borrowing is subject to the debt limit, but general obligation bonds or bonds that are paid from a property tax, they are subject to that debt limit. And I understand, and I think George had found this, based on the county's assessed valuation, your debt limit is right around $40 million. So that would be the maximum amount of debt you could take on if it's the kind of debt that's paid from property taxes. So, for example, sales tax would not count any toward that debt limit. Also, of course, counties can do special assessments and borrow against other state and federal money, so that also doesn't count against that debt limit. The next slide is property tax limits. And as you know, of course, there's the new property tax legislation last session, but specifically that new legislation that limits the property tax does not apply to voter-approved bonds or other statutorily approved borrowing methods. So if you do one of those, and we list a few there, those are specifically outside the caps. And for example, as you know, of course, the counties have a capital projects levy. And so that levy would be subject to the cap, but if you're able to borrow against it and pledge that levy. And so to the extent that you pledge some or all of it, then those mills again are not figured in determining the cap and that 3% increase.
You're looking at slide 11 there on those levies.
Yeah, it's the property tax slide, and it's the second page of that slide. So I think that's 5.
Okay, I'm skipping ahead. Sorry.
So that would mean, if you have 10 mills in the capital projects levy, if you bond against, say, 5 of those mills, then those 5 you just take out for purposes of the cap. But the other 5 remain subject to the cap. Then the next slide should be 6 is general obligation bonds. And I think that's what maybe you've been looking at a little bit. And this requires 60%, so a supermajority approval in order to issue those. And a change last session was the legislature, it used to be special elections were allowed. They restricted that to primary or general elections only, no more special elections. And the thing with GO bonds is the voters are asked to approve a dollar amount. So you put in front of them a specific dollar amount of bonds. And then if it's approved and you issue bonds, the mills are whatever are needed to pay that annual debt service. And it's an unlimited excess mill levy. So it doesn't matter how many mills it takes. It's if the voters approve a dollar amount of bonds.
Say, Scott,
Yeah.
can I ask you a quick question? Chair and Commissioners, George Eilertson here from Northland Securities. We've, I apologize about the dogs. Scott, regarding that question of voting on an amount, if the amount that the county could do under general obligation debt is approximately 40 million, and the project is say 70, for example. On the ballot, the question is which of those two numbers would the county have on the ballot as the amount, the maximum amount of bonds, rather, under that question on the initial resolution?
Yeah, so when you ask the voters to approve a dollar amount of bonds, but we also said that this type of bond counts against that debt limit. And so, right, if the debt limit is 40 million, that is measured at the time the county actually issues the bonds. So even though the debt limit is 40 million, you could ask the voters, say, for 50 million, because normally you wouldn't issue all of those bonds immediately. It might happen over a few years. And what can happen then is the valuations increase, and so your debt limit goes up. And so maybe by the time you issue the last part of the bonds in a few years, the debt limit is caught up to that dollar amount. So that dollar amount can be listed without regard to the debt limit. But, as a practical matter, if the debt limit's 40 million and you list, 80, obviously it might take some time for the debt limit to grow that much. So
right.
You could go over, but you got to take that into account, of course.
Thank you.
And projects for the GO bonds are very broad, and it would include correction facility. And then the ballot, well, I said that it's an unlimited excess mill levy. The ballot question has to list the estimated mill impact for the first year's debt service. And I think you should have, back in November, I did send up a couple of resolutions in a form of ballot. But anyway, that you can see how the ballot question would be set forth. And there are a couple of resolutions to start this process. An initial resolution that requires certain information, including the maximum dollar amount of bonds. And then a resolution calling the election. And the other thing about that dollar amount of bonds, that does not obligate the commission to issue that. So say the voters approve, just say 40 million. If things change or, it doesn't turn out the way you were anticipating, the commission is not bound to issue any bonds, or they could issue a lesser amount. What this does is just cap your authority, what you could issue. The next page, I think we can skip. It just lists a few exceptions to that voting requirement. Although the first one there, I think this is page 7. Emergency condition. The county did issue GO bonds under this in 2010 for road improvements. So you have used that one, and that did require voter approval. The next one should be entitled Limited General Obligation Bonds. And these are bonds that the commission by a 2/3 vote can issue, so no voter approval. But what happens is you publish the resolution in the paper that you plan to issue these bonds, And then there's a 60-day protest period. And owners of taxable property can file protests against it. And the protest threshold is 5% of assessed valuation. So owners of property that would have a value of at least that 5%. If that amount protests, then it would block you from going ahead. But absent that, which would be pretty rare, the commission can go ahead and issue these limited GO bonds. Now, at the bottom of that slide, there's really two purposes only that you can use these for. One would be bonding against your capital projects levy, and the other would be the bond against your road and bridge levy. And so on the next page, I think we're on 9, would be the county capital projects levy. So as you know, you get 10 mils with this levy. And what this limited GO bond option is, it means you can borrow or bond against those 10 mils. And again, that's without voter approval, but just subject to that protest. And you're aware too, I'm sure you can increase that capital projects levy by another 10 mils, but that takes a vote. Now, as you know too, one of the purposes of the capital projects levy would be for correctional centers. And specifically, the statute says you can construct, equip, and maintain structural and mechanical components of a regional or county correction center. Now, of course, the limitation with this type of GO is your borrowing capacity is limited to those 10 mils. So, George would have to figure, how much can you borrow if you were to use the whole 10 mils to pay debt service. But that is an option. And these can be combined too. So in other words, you could ask the voters for the regular GO bonds, and then you could also bond against the capital projects levy. But then obviously that you bond against those 10 mils, obviously then they're tied up and you don't have them for your ongoing needs.
I believe, based upon the conversation, George here, that I had with Candy, that the county is already, the capital projects levy is about 713,000 in 2024. And so I believe a majority of that 10 mils is already being used towards the correctional facility. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Candy or Jeff, but
No, that is correct.
yeah. Okay, so if you used it for debt service, you'd have to obviously find a way to make up the operational cost elsewhere. Thank you, Scott. Sorry.
Yep. No, in slide 10 just lists the other approved uses of that capital projects levy. The next slide, 11, the road and bridge levy, that's your other levy you could bond against with the limited GO bonds. But obviously this would be for your road and bridge projects. Slide 12 is titled Limited Tax Bonds. And one thing that's a little unique that counties can do is you can basically borrow or bond against your general fund levy. And that's what this option is. And that's just by action of the county commission. The statute just says it has to be for primary governmental functions. But that could certainly include corrections, road and bridge, county building improvements. A number of counties have used this for, say, courthouse repairs, windows, roofs, elevators, all those kind of things. And also several have used it for road projects. But again, what this is borrowing against your general fund levy. So as you know, of course, then that means if you dedicate whatever, say 5 mils to the general fund levy, you don't have them available for another use. Now, one other thing that's a little unique, I guess, with this is you only are allowed a 5-year term. So if the repayment is in 5 years, that really, I think, limits maybe the dollar amount you can borrow. But the legislature said if this is for a loan through the Bank of North Dakota, then you can have a 20-year term, and that's through that 2% infrastructure revolving loan fund, which I don't think is a whole lot of money available. So if you don't go to B&D, you can use this, but again, you're going to run up against that 5-year term. But this also is something you can combine with the other options. So in other words, these aren't exclusive. You could use multiple options, of course, for one project. The next slide, 13, certificates of indebtedness. This just allows political subdivisions to borrow against any federal or state revenue stream. So any kind of state aid or, say the highway tax distribution fund, you're allowed to basically leverage that and bond against it for a project, and then it's repaid annually through those revenues you receive from the state. But, for your project here, I don't know that would help you too much. 14, special assessments. Counties are allowed to issue special assessment bonds, and usually it seems they're for paving in one of the subdivisions outside city limits. But you do have the option of doing special assessments. And then 15, something that could help, of course, would be sales tax. But as you know, you need a home rule charter, and then the charter has to provide the powers, which would include imposing a sales tax. Now that if the voters approve a charter, you could include a sales tax with that question. Some, of course, older ones that have had a charter in place a long time, they have a charter in place, and then the charter provides they need a vote, though, to oppose the sales tax. So Burley, for example, for their detention center, their home rule charter question included authority for I don't know if it was a 1% maybe sales tax, or maybe half cent. But anyway, that could be in one question. If the voters approve it, whether through home rule charter or a separate vote, then further action is just up to the county commission. And it's a revenue bond just based on sales tax collections. So the bond amount is just limited by what the anticipated collections are, if there are no historical collections. And there's also no maturity limit, so you kind of can structure these however you think works best. The next slide just lists home rule. You could do other things through home rule. Maybe, for example, an appropriation bond, where you're just agreeing to appropriate from the general fund or other sources. But again, I don't know that that's of interest here. 17, there is this kind of whole area of kind of lease financing or certificates of participation. And some counties, I think Rolette and more recently Barnes County used this for their correctional facilities. but after the Barnes County project, the next session, the legislature restricted the ability to do this lease financing. So that's now on slide 18. It's now the case that you need voter approval if your lease financing project is over $4 million. So pretty low limit. It's just the majority, but that's what the legislature put in place. You know, and it's all because someone didn't like that Barnes County financing. You know, that's maybe kind of quick, but that's basically the options that, you know, counties have for financing.
Daniel Howe, just with a quick question. You mentioned at one point that these options aren't all mutually exclusive. If the commission wanted to, could they combine several of these options to meet the cost of the project?
Yes, you can. Now, you know, I'm sure you're familiar. Walsh County voted on a couple of different things to use together for a project. Sales tax, and then they also voted to increase I believe it was the general fund levy, and then they were going to use those limited tax bonds to borrow against the general fund. So to combine those options, and you know, the one passed, the sales tax passed, I think, and the general fund increase failed. So you just might kind of have an incomplete result.
Thank you for the answer.
So Scott, Commissioner Frith here, moving forward, what would be the first step of these resolutions that we'd have to pass in order to get this on to the next step, and what time frame do we have? Would we be looking at to get that implemented by June 9th?
Yeah. The first step would be that initial resolution, and I had sent it up with some blanks in, so you could look at it. So I probably should update that, and I could send it again. But I don't know if you have that from me, but it's just a 1-page resolution where you set out the maximum amount of bonds. You have to list your assessed valuation, and then of course a paragraph describing the purpose, and then whether the county has any current debt. Yep. And that's the resolution that starts the process to issue general obligation bonds. Now, usually right after that at the same meeting, although it doesn't have to be, but there's a second resolution, and that's the resolution that calls the election. And what that basically does is say, you know, this vote on geo ponds we're setting for, you know, if you wanted it on June 9th, for example, it would just set forth that information. So 2 resolutions. The form of the ballot is an attachment to that second resolution. So you also be approving what that ballot will look like as to that question. Now, as far as timing, the statute says any questions that are going to be on that ballot have to be available at least 64 days prior to the election date. And the idea of that statute was just to give the county auditor plenty of time to make sure they can get the ballot ready, especially if, you know, it's an election with candidates and maybe other measures. So, you know, you have time. So it's that 64 days, and you'd want to be, you know, wide of that so you don't cut it too close. But and then the other thing, of course, is for any kind of public information and discussion, etc., to make sure whatever time you want to provide information.
Scott, is the second resolution calling for an election? Is that the one with the 64-day timeline?
No, they both are, because really that initial resolution is the resolution that is calling for the GO bonds, and that's the question. And then, so I mean, they both are. That's usually they're adopted together, and so both should be adopted, more than 64 days ahead of time.
Thank you.
Other commissioners have questions? George or Scott, any final words that you can think of? Any words of wisdom moving forward?
Yeah, I don't recall what the dollar amount need is, but the debt limit obviously will limit you, and I don't know if you can get it done within the debt limit or if you need, for example, sales tax is an option. But then, and I don't know if you're looking at a charter, home rule charter question too, in June.
Well, we do have a charter committee in place, and if they come up with a charter and the commission approves it for the June ballot, then we would.
Okay.
But I think a lot of this comes down to the law enforcement center coming up with the final design and what that estimated cost could potentially be, and can we fit it within that debt limit?
Right.
Scott,
So Scott, I'm sorry to ask this follow-up question. If the architects, and as we all know, nothing is going down in price these days, but as if the architects come back and say the project is $60 million, and Commissioner Frith, I know that there's probably an actual number being discussed, but and I apologize about this follow-up question on that initial resolution. If the county's limit is really 40 based upon for the debt limit, but the project cost is sounding like it's going to be 60 million. Would that line one maximum amount of bonds proposed to be issued, realizing that there may be other avenues, sales tax or the limited GO, that they could have as a series of bonds to accomplish the entire 60 million. For that question, do they put the 60 million in number one, or would this be focused on the general obligation?
Yeah, this would be focused only on the general obligation bonds. So,
okay.
And like we said, you could set it over the debt limit because we're not measuring it today or at the time they vote. It only is measured at the time you issue the bonds. And so there's nothing wrong with, say, if the debt limit is 40, if you list 45 or 50, it just means you might not be able to issue the full amount up to 50 if your assessed valuation doesn't allow you to do so. And then the other question is if you think, that's not a good idea because voters, the higher the number, the more no votes you might get.
Right. Under question 4 on that initial resolution, total amount of bonded indebtedness, you referenced earlier the 2010 bonds for road improvements. and Candy or commission, you could probably, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's the only existing debt outstanding. That would be included under total amount of bonded indebtedness, for the resolution, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and I might be wrong too, but I thought those were maybe paid, so.
If they are outstanding still, then that would be referenced in that, question 4. Okay.
Correct, whatever, if there is a principal amount left, that's what would be referenced.
Okay, thank you.
I have no further questions. Daniel?
No questions for Mr. Wagner, Mr. Ellertson.
Any other commissioners have anything?
Not at this time.
If not, I guess, thank you, gentlemen, for your time.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, happy to jump on at a future commission meeting as you want.
Thank you. Have a good
All
night.
right, thanks. Yep, good night.
All right, moving on to Jason with the Highway Department.
Hello, everybody. I'm Gary at the business. KLJ Engineering LLC, formerly Cattersley and Jackson Incorporated, has sent the amendment to engineer owner agreement for modifications to time for rendering service. This will extend the agreement until March 1st, 2031. Asking for a motion to accept this agreement and also have Chairman Volk sign the agreement. I have the agreement here, Candy, or did you print one, or I'll leave it for Commissioner Volk. I don't think so. Paul's here. We're good through March 1st currently. So
Is this just something we?
yeah, it's the same.
periodically?
It's the same agreement. It's just that it's going to expire. It started, effective date was March 1st, 2011, and it's going to expire March 1st, 2026. So we'll extend it for 5 years with KLJ.
Do we have a motion to accept the agreement with KLJ?
Move to approve.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
All right, the next one is just FYI. I threw a couple numbers in there for Commissioner Brown, as he wasn't with us at the time we received the grant. North Dakota DOT reached out asking if I had hired a consultant, or as Ramsey County had hired a consultant, I should say, for our project for the shared pathway. As of now, we have not. I reached out to Paul. He will work together to get a agreement completed to myself, and then I will bring it to submit it to the board for approval. And then we'll get this to the DOT, hopefully at the next meeting, if Paul has time to get it together. So that's just for you guys where we're at. I don't know if anybody has any questions on that, but the refresher was we were awarded $348,827 for the shared pathway out by Ramsey County 1. And that work is to be completed in 2027, but it's for construction only. So the preliminary engineering and the construction engineering is local share. All right. Any questions there? Or I guess that was more of an information, a little catch up for Commissioner that wasn't with us when we started that project last summer, or last, whatever that was already. Time flies. Bridge 101-20.0 south of Church's Ferry, the underwater bridge has been selected for removal. Ramsey County would be responsible for the preliminary engineering. The construction and construction engineering will be covered by the North Dakota DOT. This grant for bridges program is a reimbursement program. So only costs from 1/8/2026, that's the date they gave us forward, are eligible for reimbursement. So anything we've had done in the past is not allowable for engineerment. Ramsey County, we just did this with the 89th Avenue project in South Minnewacan, so it'll be very similar. I will have the KLJ also get a cost estimate together for that and get that to us for the next meeting, because that would be our cost, and then after that, the DOT will be able to submit for reimbursement to DOT for the rest of that project. If we so move to accept the grant and go forward with the project.
So that bridge is underwater.
Yep.
So you'd be working in water, or they'd be working in water.
Yep. Correct.
And the bridge is no longer being used,
Correct.
and DOT wants to remove it.
We put in for a grant to get it removed because refresher again, we as a highway department and a county pay for underwater inspection, local share on that. That's an expensive every so often. It's an expense. We put in for a grant. It was now selected to be removed. So we do have North Dakota DOT. They will pay for the construction engineering and the construction removal. We pay for the stuff needed for them to figure out how to go about that up to that point, the preliminary.
I'd imagine that'd be an expensive project.
The preliminary estimate was 160-ish, somewhere in that area. 160,000 or so to remove that bridge.
There's roads going to this bridge?
It's the old county line road south to Church's Ferry. The road is impassable, from the north or the south to the bridge, and then the bridge is sitting there. Last year, or one of the years here recently, the bridge was you could actually get on the bridge deck. You can't get to it. You have to walk to it, but you could get to it. But yeah, so we have the opportunity to get that removed off the system and no longer have costs of inspecting it through this grant program.
I think it was down in 21 when we're
Is that what it was, Jeff?
close to that 47 elevation.
No, you're probably right. I remember everything. I remember doing it. We walked down and looked at it, but it's surprisingly in good shape on the water. And even the last inspection was, I think it was 23, if I recall. I don't have all that with me tonight, but at that time, it still wasn't restricted for anything. So it's still a good structure. It's just there's no roads to it either way, and we're paying to have underwater inspections done on it when they have to inspect it.
There's a way to get to it to remove it?
Yeah, I'm assuming so. That's up to the state. We just we pay for the preliminary, and they've accepted it. They've taken it on. So if we accept to move forward. So Paul will get us a price on what it would cost us to do that, and then we'll make that decision. 96th Avenue, just another update there. We did get the last invoice on the hydraulic study. The water board and our office, myself at the highway department, and KLJ are going to get together at the next meeting and make a recommendation there off of what they've told us, and they've made the recommendation. I guess we'll accept it preliminary and we'll bring it to you guys for final approval. So that's just a more FYI to catch everybody up on that low water crossing. County line agreements, I have gone through those and have them pretty much ready to go to Mr. Howell's office at some point. I know he doesn't have anything to do and he's been desperately waiting for those. So, but one of the key points I did put in there is we don't want to get caught like we did this year with the chip seal project. So, any projects going to be done jointly need to be to our office by June 1st, the prior year, so we can approve them for budgeting. Because budgeting usually starts in July, so it gives them a little bit of time to get it to us, but we'll make sure that's stated in there. And then of course we'll get them all signed this time. Half of the other ones weren't signed, and we wrote some and other counties wrote some, and this way we'll make our own through their office. We'll get everybody to sign them and agree on them, hopefully, and we'll go from there. So we got that part done. Both plow trucks are back in service. The 127, the Sounder truck, we had to buy a turbo for $3,700 and $3,707.50. There was a core of $512.50. The reason those numbers are important is because they sent us one invoice here, so we'll get to that in a second. We did the labor on that truck in our shop, so we didn't have to take that one in. That 126 truck, we did haul that one down. They did $3,400.76 worth of parts and labor at NCI or Nelson. Then they sent it back to us usable, but we needed the whole big cold air radiator looking thing in the front. Their cold air coil and that a big upper hose. We were able just to order that and have our guys install that, but that did come in at $1,900 and $1922 just for parts on that. So I'm asking for a motion to pay after the credits to NCI $8,590.23, and that is for both of the plow trucks.
So move.
Second.
Any further discussion? Do we need a roll call on this one?
We're gonna pay it. Yeah, they're back. We're ready.
Roll call, please.
Okay. Hodis.
Aye.
Frith.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
We'll go. Mix up my saying. Wilhelm.
Aye.
Volk.
Next we have the new truck showed up in Fargo. It's at NCI. They need the payment at this point before they'll move forward on it. So I have the invoice for that. So I'm asking for $134,179.34 to pay for the truck only. And then we'll have to wait for the snow equipment, but they will actually, once they receive the check and the payment, we'll get the paperwork. They will move the truck to Burt's for us. They've reassured me that again on the phone today, that they'll move it over and then get it in line for a year from now when we get snow equipment. That's really backed up right now, so that'll be a while, but at least we're going the right way. We're getting closer. So I'm asking for a motion for $134,179.34 to pay for the new truck.
I would so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Hodis.
Aye.
Frith.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Wilhelmy.
Aye.
Volk.
I have two last things that I added quickly. One of them was next week I'll be traveling to Grand Forks for the County Engineers Convention, North Dakota Station of County Engineers Convention. So I would like to ask, I guess, for a out of town travel request for that.
You don't need to ask for that. Just out of state.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And then the last one is I did get the quotes from Devil's Lake Cars for the one new pickup that we had budgeted money for. That'll replace the 1995 Dodge, and then we should be good on pickups for a couple of years, hopefully, unless something unforeseen pops up. The low quote of we had a Chevy, a Ford, and a Dodge all quoted spec same with the same whatever they put on them. But anyway, packages. The Ford was the low quote, so at $46,000, I gotta find it here. $46,990. And that's with the other fees. There's no tax, but I suppose document fees or whatever. But anyway, they gave us a $5,400 discount on that pickup. So that would be the one that I would, since it was low price, that would be the one I would ask that we purchase. Asking for a motion to move forward with that.
So
Second.
We have a motion and a second to, I guess we're ordering the pickup.
They said that, yeah, it was, so sorry about that. It was Devil's Lake Cars, and they did say they'd have that within like a week or two even. They do have them in inventory. They just have to get one up here with that XL package because, they're the more work.
Okay. But we're not paying for it yet.
Nope, not until we get it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the purchase of
There we go.
a 2025 Ford F-150 from Devil's Lake Cars. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
I guess that's it. I'll give this to Candy for Commissioner Volk with the KLJ agreement and be back in a couple of weeks with some more information for you.
Thanks, Jason.
Yep, thank you.
Next we have Sheriff Lang.
I just got three little things here. We'll go over. It'll be real quick. Search and rescue is growing. They acquired another vehicle, so our space in there is getting smaller and smaller. So for us to store things, we've been trying to put it in our evidence room, and our evidence room is getting full where we're having troubles getting all our evidence where it needs to be and keep track of it. So I talked to Jeff briefly. My initial thought was buy a small shed. So when we purchase our vehicles and we go and have all our police equipment put in, they're taking the center consoles out and everything. So we bring that all back. We got to store that till we sell it and put it back in. And I've been watching the prices on tires and buying tires when they're on sale and stockpiling them. And so that's where my issue is coming in with some of our older equipment that we are holding on because we're using it for parts if something breaks down. We just need a little bit more storage. So I looked at storage units, as you can see, compared to just buying a storage shed. And I haven't talked to Jason yet to see if there's a place I could set it over there. But just to kind of give you an idea, I was looking more like just a 10 by 10 to rent one at the Depot store. They're $88 a month, and they'll be about $1,056 a year. And then they're the cheapest storage unit that I could find so far. I looked at the Shed Central in Devil's Lake. They had a 10 by 12 with the high side, and it's $5,811 for a shed. So I'm just throwing us out there for now to see if the commission had any other ideas of what we could do or maybe go, or what avenues we should research some more.
You better speak up.
Well, no, I'm okay with the shed. We can find room for a shed for now, but I haven't had time to get the numbers together to look at this. But we're in the same situation, obviously. We do have buildings that we have a building I would like to heat and do some work to. I just haven't gotten any numbers together yet because we've been busy with the transition and everything. And if we could get this rolling, we could give him that blue building with the shop right in it where they already use for the SWAT. My plan is the 5-door building. I'd like to see some type of floor get put in there and some heat put in there so we can move things into that building so we don't have to have them in our shop because we don't have any room to work in our shop. We got to only have a couple buildings with heat in them. That's a cold storage facility. But if we made that a heated facility, that would free up a bay. He could have that little building over there that's an entire bay. For now, he's still going to need a shed because I'm going to have to budget these things and stuff like that. But going forward, that's the plan in the highway department with the guys to get us more room so we can, because everybody's growing, equipment's bigger. I mean, there's just more fleet. Blades don't fit in the doors anymore. I mean,
This building you're talking about,
the one we have now.
you want it.
Oh, that's that 5-door shop. It's like a 40 by 100. It's big. It's got 5 bays and it has a loft in one end. So what I'm going to look at doing, and this was the first thing was getting priced to spray foam it.
Mm-hmm.
It's already a metal building. I'm just coming in and shoot it with foam. Doesn't need to be finished. That's finished product. It's already got the power in it. And then it's just do something with floor and floor drain and then get heat going in there.
And there's 5 doors, you said?
Yes.
Are these insulated doors?
No, they're not. But They are the slotted doors where you could foam insulate. I'm talking asphalt probably instead of concrete. It's less expensive, and it's not going to be. We're not going to be in there dropping engines off of engines, like a shop floor. It's going to be to back in, melt the equipment off, keep it so it starts, and get it out of there and get it back to work the next day. And it utilizes space we already have and gets us our shop freed up. So we don't have 2 sanders and 2 pickups in there all the time. So before you go to do anything, you got to start all the trucks and move them out so you can bring a blade in and change the oil or the cutting edges, which that doesn't seem like a big deal. But when you're the only guy working on a Sunday and you got to move 4 things to get 1 truck out, it's just royally,
How high is the sidewalk?
in the 5-door, yeah, plenty high. We park payloaders in there now. We park trucks in there now, but they're all plugged in on timers. I'm assuming those timers alone, the electricity that we're burning through there, we got 2 payloaders plugged in and a couple trucks and always a semi in case we have to haul and load something. So, yeah,
You want
just all.
prices?
I am. I didn't know Sheriff was talking about this either until right now. So I'm just throwing out my snowball ideas. I've talked to Brent and my grounds foreman or my shop foreman guy, and we're moving forward. I've talked to Dwayne Volk. He just hasn't got me a price. He's the spray foam guy in town, and then we look for one other, try to get a couple estimates on that. And first thing we want to do is get it insulated up, sprayed up.
So there'd be room for the sheriff's.
Well, we have a building right now that we kind of share, but we keep the shop side because we need it for the heated truck. And they have the SWAT team is in there and whatever else is in there. Plus we have some of your old equipment's in there. There's a couple cages and stuff in there, but it'd be nice for them to just have that. We pay the heat and they use half the building. You pay his own heat that way.
The search and rescue building is pretty well full of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have really expanded and gotten whatever. I'm assuming that's all their equipment in there. I don't know for sure. Sheriff would know, but
2 units for the SWAT. And then we got the truck vehicle. It's in there.
But anyway, it just perked my ears because we're in the process of this. I want to share that we are looking at something on our side too. So I'll be back with some numbers. I'll put a fast forward button on that, but
So maybe
That'd work out great because then we could park our spare vehicles inside.
right.
Still let them sit
Because you can
outside.
probably get 2 pickups in there too. If you want to all the way up and one all the way back, you just have to move over and you hit the shop. But then you wouldn't have to be in their shop if you need to tear something apart or whatever either. So that would be the ultimate for all of us. We just have nowhere to go with that other truck right now. So
Sure.
okay. We'll be
I
back.
guess I can hit the binders and see what Jason comes up.
Yeah, I'll try it. Get on.
Well, I mean, in the short term, would one of the storage sheds be a better option for you? Then if you need something immediate.
Yeah, I think it would be because we got stuff in this building, stuff in that building. I got it scattered in 3 different buildings, and then you're constantly on a hunt. And if somebody moves something around,
So are you just looking for some direction, or are you looking for a motion to go buy a shed, or what are you looking for?
well, I think now buying a shed, if Jason's gonna do this with that other building, and we can get that whole building, we wouldn't need a shed, but maybe some temporary storage for now will get us by until we get that taken care of.
My request would be whichever is most secure. I'm not sure what you're keeping in these.
Well, it's not gonna be evidence.
Okay.
It's gonna be old light bars. It's gonna be our tires, equipment that we don't use all the time. We pull out every now and then.
At an undisclosed location.
Yeah.
One more thing. What is the shed? How much do they cost roughly? Yeah.
Yeah.
$5,800 for the cheap one.
Okay. So buy the shed. We put it next to that blue building where that white pickup was sitting that we got from you. We put it in there. You'll have the shed with that shop. We'll clear that area out. We can put it right there. If you don't need it later on down the road, you can use it for the weed building because it's right next door to the weed shed, and that thing's been too small since the day I started in Ramsey County for the chemical. Well, it has been. There's not enough room in there. So the stuff that doesn't have to be in a heated shed could go in that shed if you don't need it at some point down the road. We could buy it back however we make that work. We'd work by sheriff's department or whatever. But I think we get the shed and put it next to the building because it's between the two buildings that way and it's going to be used. Somebody's going to use it. If you have the money to buy the shed, buy the shed. That's my 2 cents. I'll see how we buy it.
You chipping in on it?
I guess, do you have a direction you would like to go with this, Sheriff?
Or should we ask Jason?
I'm done. I get my 2 cents.
Maybe you guys better work it out and then we'll come back to us or something.
Yeah, that sounds better. We could just kind of table this for now, and I'll get together with Jason and we'll come up with a better plan. And
Maybe you guys should talk more.
well, you know, when you're trying to look for something and you're moving something, and we just got 12 tires, and we're trying to find a place for them, and then it was just one of them. So the other thing I want to talk about real quick is the North Dakota legislator came up with the memorial highway for fallen peace officers that were killed in line of duty. Now, Ramsey County has one that was killed in the line of duty back in 1950. His name was Rudolph Howell. So what I did is I put an application in to see if we can get a sign and a mile marker donated, or not donated, but directed towards him, and it'd be a mile long stretch. It'd be in memory of him. So I sent that off. We did get approved, and they sent me the dimensions of the sign and everything. And they give me 2 places where we could purchase it. So the maximum it would cost is $400. I'm here to ask the commission if we could take that out of the general fund instead of taking it out of my budget. It was kind of ironic. This summer, his grandson stopped in to visit us to give us a little bit of background, and then the legislature came and did this. He was kind of looking to put something in the sheriff's office, but I think this would be really something nice to do for the family.
So we're looking for a motion to take $400 out of the general fund to pay for signage for a fallen peace officer on the fallen deputy memorial highway. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's a, let's see if I got it here. It's a North Dakota Fallen Peace Officers Memorial Highway.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
What year was that?
1950.
50?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
My last thing, just real briefly, we did a trial run with some security stuff using the metal detector on the 3rd floor where they had a hearing up there. From my perspective, on my end, things went pretty well. So we know that we got a judge that's going to have their swearing in and stuff. So we're going to reshuffle things, and we're going to do it on the ground floor. And I'll have enough staff here to run it. We just want to see what it would be like to have it on the main floor with the side doors locked and everybody has to come through the front door. Because this is one of the things that's been brought up at our safety meetings quite a bit. So we want to give that a test run just to see how it would work and kind of give us an idea how many people it would take. So I know we had 2 people up on the 3rd floor. 2 of us were busy 10, 15 minutes and get done with one. We got pretty quiet. So, but we want to give it a test run. So if you hear what us sending out an email, the side door is going to be locked, front entrance only. That's what's going on.
That'll be for courthouse employees as well. Would have to only enter through the front door, or they will still.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and then that's some information we can take back to the committee when we meet again and discuss. So that's all I had. Unless you got questions or something for me.
Thank you.
Just so that it's clear, that date that's the side doors are going to be locked is February 10th. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
I'm sure a lot of people in the building will want to know what date that is.
And we plan on sending out bulk email before that.
Anybody have anything else for the sheriff? Thank you, Sheriff. Unfinished business. The beer liquor license application.
Yes. At the last meeting, I had asked the commission to table the license so that I could look deeper into our liquor ordinances here in Ramsey County. My findings are that, well, my recommendation based on my findings is that the commission deny the liquor license application at this time. First and foremost, Section 11, or excuse me, Section 12 specifically states that any facility applying for a liquor license is required to have adequate and sufficient lavatory and toilet facilities. Based on the information from state health that I've received at this point, as well as came forward and gave a little information at last meeting. It's well within the commission's authority to deny this application based on not having adequate and sufficient lavatory and toilet facilities. There's also a couple other, one other issue with Mr. Johnson's application for the liquor license. It's that all licenses must be issued to state residents. And while Mr. Johnson may be a resident, the application listed the location of the business here on Highway 2 within Ramsey County. My understanding is that Mr. Johnson does not live at the location, so we would at least want to verify before reviewing a further application whether or not Mr. Johnson is a North Dakota citizen. And regarding the application, that's my recommendation at this point. If Mr. Johnson wants to renew his application, if he's able to address these issues, I encourage the commission to receive that application and have him come before the commission to address any concerns the commission might have. It's a little outside of the norm for one of these applications to be denied. So in the event that he does reapply, I think it'd be appropriate for him to come before the commission to talk about those issues or concerns that the commission may have at a later date. Any questions for me?
Move to deny based on the state's attorney's recommendations.
We have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further discussion?
I do have just one little bit. Cindy Schmidt, prevention specialist with the North Dakota State Health, or working for the Lake Region District Health. She had submitted a letter to the commission. Each of the members present were given a copy. One will be given to you as well, Commissioner Volk. This letter just outlines Ms. Schmidt's concerns about another bar here in Ramsey County, and just wanted to make sure that her concerns were highlighted to the commission. That's really more for the commission to take into account when reviewing this application and future applications. But I'm sure Ms. Schmidt will be showing up at any future applications to make sure that her concerns are noted at a later date as well. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the liquor license application? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. The license application has been denied. On to new business. Approve a homestead credit abatement.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. And extension portfolio.
That was me. When Commissioner Brown said he would accept the portfolio for the fair board, I think it'd be proper for him to also be the portfolio for the extension office. Have the two coincide with each other. And I've talked to him and he has agreed to do that. If that is okay with the rest of the commission.
I'd move to make that recommendation that Commissioner Brown be both the fair board and the extension portfolio holder.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to transfer the portfolio of the extension office from Commissioner Hodis to Commissioner Brown. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Visitors and delegations. Hearing no one that wants to speak. Any announcements?
Law Enforcement Center meets tomorrow morning in the Law Enforcement Center's courtroom, 8 a.m. We'll be reviewing some building designs with our architecture and some costs potentially. So if anybody is available and wants to attend, that's where it will be.
No one else has anything. Meeting adjourned. You're welcome.